Niagara Falls is one of the most breathtaking natural wonders in the world, a place where millions gather each year to experience the thunder of cascading water and the mist rising from the gorge. But behind its postcard-perfect beauty lies a dark legacy. For centuries, the falls have been both a tourist magnet and a deadly trap. More than 5,000 lives have been lost here, through stunts, accidents, and tragedies that have left rescuers, witnesses, and families haunted forever. Today, the spotlight is on some of the worst and most unforgettable deaths ever recorded at Niagara Falls. These are not stories of beauty, but of desperation, mistakes, and lives claimed by one of the world's most dangerous natural wonders. The daredevil who never came back. Robert Overacker, 1995. The worst Niagara Falls deaths caught on record. On October 1st, 1995, visitors at Niagara Falls witnessed something they would never forget. A man on a jet ski raced straight toward the brink of the Horseshoe Falls. His name was Robert Overacker, a 39-year-old stuntman with a cause. Unlike others who risked everything at the falls purely for thrill-seeking or fame, Robert's mission was different. He wanted to raise awareness about homelessness, hoping his daring stunt would catch worldwide attention. At first, his bold ride drew gasps of amazement. Spectators watched as he approached the roaring edge, perfectly in control. Everything about his demeanor suggested he had a plan. Robert had strapped a rocket-propelled parachute to his back, confident it would deploy at the critical moment and carry him safely down into the gorge below. But in one horrifying instant, that confidence collapsed. As he reached the edge and launched off the brink, his parachute failed to open. The crowd's awe turned into horror as Robert plummeted 57 meters straight into the churning water below. Rescue teams mobilized instantly, but there was no miracle waiting. His body was recovered the following day. What made Robert's story even more tragic was the sincerity behind his cause. He wasn't chasing a thrill for its own sake. Friends described him as passionate, determined, and deeply frustrated with how little attention society gave to homelessness. In his mind, a dramatic stunt at one of the most photographed landmarks in the world would spark conversation. Robert's brother later spoke about how much preparation had gone into the stunt, noting that Robert had tested equipment and practiced with determination. Still, the parachute's failure showed how unforgiving the falls truly are. Even the most carefully laid plans mean nothing when nature refuses to cooperate. His death added another name to a long history of tragedies at Niagara. But unlike many others, Robert's attempt carried a painful reminder of a noble mission lost to chaos. Robert Overacker's death was a sobering reminder that Niagara Falls does not forgive mistakes. Even with preparation, specialized gear, and a purpose beyond thrill-seeking, the waters claimed him as easily as they had countless others before. A Father's Day disaster, narrowly avoided. The 2011 teen rescue. The worst Niagara Falls deaths caught on record. Fast forward to June of 2011, a warm Father's Day weekend. 4 teenagers climbed into a small motorboat for what should have been a carefree ride. Their goal wasn't reckless. They simply wanted to get as close as possible to the falls and enjoy the stunning view. But instead of heading for the calm and safe Welland River, they unknowingly ventured into the treacherous Niagara River itself, where swimming and boating had been banned for over a century. At first, nothing seemed wrong. The day was bright, the river looked calm, and the distant roar of the falls seemed far away. But things unraveled quickly near the International Control Dam. The boat's motor failed. Suddenly powerless, the vessel spun broadside, and within moments the swift current dragged it downstream. Panic gripped the teenagers as they realized the horrifying truth. They were being pulled toward Horseshoe Falls, the largest of Niagara's 3 cascades. They screamed for help, tried desperately to paddle with their hands, and waved frantically toward the shore. But the river above Niagara moves at nearly 40 kilometers per hour. The falls were closing in fast. By some stroke of sheer luck, the boat slammed into rocks only 300 meters from the brink. Miraculously, it lodged in place. The water surged violently around them, threatening to tip them back into the deadly current. Calls for help went out immediately. Lieutenant Patrick Morarty and Officer Kevin Kramer of the New York State Park Police were dispatched in a patrol boat. Battling whitewater and mist so thick it blinded their view, the officers somehow reached the stranded teens. One by one, they hauled the teenagers aboard and carried them back to safety. The crowd of rescuers exhaled in relief. It seemed like a miracle had occurred. Not one of the 4 teenagers had been harmed. The nightmare still wasn't over. The 3,700-kilogram police boat remained stranded just meters from the falls. At sunrise, the U.S. Army National Guard launched a CH-47 Chinook helicopter. Suspended on a rope, Staff Sergeant James Lent fought mist, wind shear, and the deafening roar of the falls as he hooked the stranded vessel. After 45 agonizing minutes, the helicopter lifted the boat out of the deadly current and deposited it safely on Goat Island. This extraordinary series of rescues made international headlines. The teenagers survived, the officers survived, and even the police vessel was saved. Yet, the incident left a chilling reminder. At Niagara Falls, one wrong decision can end in disaster within seconds. The tourist's fatal misstep, Ayano Tokumasu, 2011. The worst Niagara Falls deaths caught on record. Not all tragedies at Niagara Falls involve stunts or reckless boating. Some happen in an instant, during what seems like an ordinary moment of sightseeing. On August 14, 2011, 20-year-old Japanese exchange student Ayano Tokumasu visited Niagara Falls with a friend. Like millions of tourists before her, she headed to Table Rock, one of the most popular viewpoints above Horseshoe Falls. The site is secured with sturdy railings and stone pillars, meant to keep visitors at a safe distance. But Ayano wanted a perfect photo. She climbed past the railing and carefully perched on one of the stone pillars, holding a small umbrella for effect. Witnesses recalled her smiling, appearing carefree and happy as her friend prepared to snap a picture. The stones, however, were slick with mist, and the wind near the falls is unpredictable. In one terrible second, Ayano lost her balance. Onlookers screamed as she slipped backward into the Niagara River, just meters from the brink. The current was merciless. Within moments, she was swept over the 57-meter drop of Horseshoe Falls. Rescue crews on both the U.S. and Canadian sides launched an immediate search, helicopters and boats scouring the plunge pool below. For days, divers searched, clinging to the hope of recovery. On August 18th, Ayano's body was finally discovered near the Cave of the Winds attraction downstream. Her tragic death was ruled drowning, with fatal injuries from the drop itself making any chance of survival impossible. Darkness on Luna Island, the 2024 family tragedy. The worst Niagara Falls deaths caught on record. Some stories from Niagara Falls haunt even seasoned rescuers. In October 2024, a tragedy struck that was unlike anything witnessed before. 33-year-old Kayante Means was a respected domestic violence counselor, described by friends as compassionate and devoted to her 2 children, 9-year-old Roman and 5-month-old Mecca. But in the weeks leading up to October, she was struggling. After giving birth, she battled severe postpartum depression. A painful separation from her children's father compounded her despair. Friends noticed cryptic social media posts hinting at deep sadness. On October 28, 2024, Kayante drove her children to Luna Island, a narrow strip of land between the American and Bridal Veil Falls. Around 9 p.m., she walked toward the railing with her children in hand. Witnesses later recalled hearing screams as she lifted both children over the barrier and climbed over herself. Within seconds, all 3 vanished into the 57-meter drop. The search that followed was one of the most intense in park history. Helicopters, boats, rescue swimmers, and drones combed the gorge and lower Niagara River. Days of effort yielded nothing. Neither Kayante nor her children were ever recovered. Veteran rescuers admitted the case shook them to their core. Unlike the daredevil stunts and accidental slips that had defined so much of the fall's tragic history, this was different. This was deliberate, and it involved not just one life, but 3. The man who challenged the falls twice, Kirk Jones. The worst Niagara Falls. Deaths caught on record. Among Niagara Falls' many stories, one name stands out: Kirk Jones. His tale is as bizarre as it is tragic. In October 2003, tourists at Table Rock on the Canadian side noticed a man quietly preparing to climb the railing. When asked if he planned to jump, he answered calmly, "Yes, ma'am. I think I am." Moments later, he let go. Everyone expected instant death. But against all odds, Kirk Jones survived the plunge over Horseshoe Falls without any protection. He was battered, bruised, with broken ribs, but alive. He became the first known person to survive such a fall unaided. His survival brought worldwide attention. He appeared on talk shows and briefly became a celebrity, but authorities were less impressed. Jones was fined $3,000, banned from Canada, and widely criticized for endangering rescuers. For years, Kirk faded into obscurity, but the lure of fame never left him. In 2017, he returned to Niagara with a bizarre plan. This time, he attempted the falls inside a 3-meter inflatable ball with his pet boa constrictor, Misty. Tourists spotted the ball spinning wildly in the rapids, its hatch open and flapping. Moments later, the empty ball surged over the brink. In the hours leading up to his stunt, Kirk was seen pacing along the shoreline, speaking excitedly about breaking another record. Witnesses later recalled that he seemed strangely calm, almost as if he believed the falls had spared him once and would do so again. He spoke about wanting to prove to the world that nothing was impossible, even if it meant risking everything he had. What many didn't know was that his life after the first jump had not gone the way he hoped. The fame faded quickly, the talk show appearances dried up, and the daredevil community moved on. Kirk struggled financially and emotionally, clinging to the idea that a second attempt would bring back the recognition he once enjoyed. Friends said he had become obsessed with the idea, researching inflatable spheres and bragging about how the ball would let him cheat death a second time. The addition of his pet snake Misty only added to the eccentricity of the plan, baffling even those closest to him. For some, it felt like a desperate act of someone who couldn't move past a fleeting moment of fame. For others, it was proof of the dangerous allure that Niagara Falls holds for those who dare to challenge it. When the empty ball was spotted tumbling over the brink, there was no cheering crowd, no cameras waiting to celebrate a survivor, only stunned silence. And in the weeks that followed, the grim discovery of his body far downstream confirmed what many had feared all along. The falls might allow miracles once, but rarely do they ever allow them twice. Kirk Jones was never seen alive again. Weeks later, his body was recovered downstream at Lake Ontario. Misty, the snake, was never found. Kirk's story, beginning with miraculous survival and ending in tragic death, is perhaps the most striking example of how the falls lure people back, again and again, into their deadly grip. Niagara Falls is a place of breathtaking beauty, but also relentless danger. From Robert Overacker's failed parachute stunt to the miraculous rescue of 4 teenagers in 2011, from the tragic fall of Ayano Tokumasu to the heartbreaking fate of Kayante Means and her children, and finally to Kirk Jones, whose life ended in a desperate attempt at fame, the falls have claimed and changed countless lives. More than 5,000 fatalities are recorded in its history, a grim reminder that no amount of barriers, warnings, or patrols can fully protect those who underestimate its power. The falls will always inspire awe, but for those who test them, the price can be fatal. If this story left you stunned, don't forget to subscribe for more shocking real-life stories that reveal the hidden dangers behind the world's most iconic landmarks. Share your thoughts in the comments. Would you dare to stand at the edge of Niagara Falls knowing its deadly history?